Welcome to the Founder podcast. I'm Magnus Olson and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Big Benny Marr and Justin Hodges. Welcome, boys.
Thanks, mate. How are you?
Mate, very well. Now, our today's special guest is James Robinson, builder, property developer, helicopter pilot and creator of Witzer. Welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
Now, to kick us off, you built a successful career in construction and property development. What motivated you to step into the fintech business and create Witzer?
Well, I didn't really see it as stepping into fintech. I think I more saw it as the building industry needed help. And from my background as a contracts administrator, so when I became a contracts administrator, say 20 odd years ago, I realised that there were major issues and things could be a lot more improved. Just thought that there's got to be a better way, and technology is a way to bring it. So I just see the technology as it's just another tool, which is like one of the things we say with Witzer. It's the best bit of kit. Best. What do we say? I like to check the marketing department. No, but we do say it's the best bit of kit you'll have in your tool bag, your nail bag or something like that, because it is just another tool. And I think I think guys need to start thinking about it as part of the business. Like we always see tradies that just rock up, do their hours and go home. They got their hand tools, but then when they become contractors and then running their own crew and their businesses, it brings a whole other different complexity. So just because you're good at your trade doesn't mean you're good at running a business.
Yeah.
So it's just, I just saw that, and I got frustrated in contract admin, especially when an older administrator would come in and he hasn't got a clue what he's doing, and then he ends up asking you on help on his project, and you just go, there's just got to be a better way. And it's the day-to-day tasks that with admin, this is how I've also structured my other businesses, there's the day-to-day tasks of admin and reminders, particularly with all our contracts in the building industry. Yep. There's so many things that you need to do that you're required to do, but like contractually required to do. But a lot of guys just don't know it. Number one, they don't know that within 7 days you got to notify of an EOT. You then got notice of delay. You got variations. You got RFIs, and there's time frames, and there's a protocol to follow. And a lot of guys don't even know that. My biggest bug is that, and that we're seeing big time in the industry, is deposits. A contractor can only take a 5% deposit when the project is over 20 grand, and they cannot invoice for work that has not been completed on site. And then also you on completion cannot invoice more than 95% until you meet completion. So then you've got retention, you've got all these things. So a mentor of mine who big into helicopters up north, he invested into a joinery company, and it's pumping out millions and millions of dollars a month. It's not a small Mickey Mouse outfit. And I was having a beer up at the paddo with him and his business partner that runs that. And I actually said to him, I said, well, because he said, James, tell him about this. And I just said to him, I said, how do you take your deposits? Oh, mate, 50% up front, 100% before we install. Well, that's illegal. Oh, mate, he just gets, that's bullshit, blah, 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 blah. I said, no, mate, you can't take, and this is back a few years ago, you can't take more than 5%. If it's under 20 grand, you can take 10%, and you can't invoice for any works that have not been, as I say, fixed in its intended use on site. Anyway, bullshit, what would you know? You're, young enough to be my son and blah, blah, blah. So I just whipped out the phone, Googled it, put it straight in his face and go, well, there you go. So it just shows, I say, how shit the industry is, and what we're, brings on to like other things like with the state government that we've had for the last 20 odd years, they had this great idea of let's upskill all these guys and get tradies upskilled and qualified. What did they do? They just lowered the bar. They didn't actually upskill everyone. They just made it easier to get qualified. So we've got these guys that are out there, qualified, licensed, that haven't got a clue. And that's where we're seeing now with a lot of issues of trades and contractors and builders going broke, taking people's deposits, because there's nothing to secure the deposit. Like you got a lawyer has a trust account, real estates have a trust account, accountants and blah, blah, blah. There's all these other industries that are regulated with trust accounts, but not builders. I could come and take that $100,000 off you, Hodge, to do your kitchen, piss off and go buy a boat.
Yeah, wow.
And there's nothing illegal about it. So this is the problem. This is the problem that we've got. But the other thing is we've got a government that hasn't got a clue, because we've got ministers that are not qualified, and it's very frustrating. So out of that frustration, which is where a lot of ideas come, the government's not doing anything about it. So then when I went out on my own, and actually going from business to business, everyone understands the deal. But when you go into retail, you got a layman client that hasn't got a clue, and then majority of the time, you got a builder who's qualified that hasn't got a clue, and they just make up shit, and then when it all falls apart, the wheels come off. It's a big shit fight. So, and I found that there was a lack of trust when I started dealing with retail clients. So one of the things I was doing a lot of work in Paddington Barton, cashed up clients. I'm doing $600,000 renos. This is quite a while. They're probably in the millions now, where it was all cash. So I wanted the security, but also I'm really, and Magnus, we always talk about psychology and business and everything.
Yep.
Really interested in the psychology. And I'm like, how do I give trust to my clients over the others? And I think one of the reasons I did well initially, and I started my building business in the middle of the GFC, right? Middle of GFC, so it was a struggle, and that's where I really learned to put everything I'd learned into practice and really run a lean, mean ship. But when you rock up and you've got a nice set-out quote, a nice scope of work so it's easy to read for customers, I put it into a dot point instead of the old contracts, and then also a program. And so they could see it, usually dealing with professionals doing that sort of stuff, compared to the guy with the real flashy ute and he's just got a handwritten triplicate going, $400,000, and then wanting all these deposits. And so I ended up saying, no, I don't take a deposit. And people are like, what? I said, no, but what you do is you put your money in the Master Builders Trust account, and they go, oh, okay. So I got them to put it in there, and then I would then do my progress claims out of Master Builders Trust account. So Master Builders have an account that's there for disputes. Now, if you've got a dispute with a client, they're not going to put money in it. So I don't know why they've got it. So, there was Tony from Master Builders one time. I've been going in there. So I get them fill out the forms, and the client puts the money in there. And then I would go around with my pre-filled progress claim off the trust account with the invoice to the client. The housewife should sign it, go, yep, and sign it. I'd say, right, boys, I'd go down, lodge that in at Spring Hill at Master Builders. They'd ring up the client and say, have you signed this, just to double check? Yep, he signed that. A couple of hours later, I'd go down, pick up my check, my check from Master Builders, go put it in, and I'll say, boys, I'll meet you at the paddo, and I'll buy the boys beers and chicken wings down. We'll meet down at the paddo and that'd be our week. So I knew that I was getting paid for the work that I'd done, and what I found from a psychological point is that I gave trust to the clients that, yes, I'm going to rip your house down, but I'm not going to run off your money. So I gave them trust. Then I complied with the legislation. So I gave myself security. I gave my client security, and I traded within the legislation. And anyway, there's one time I'm down there getting my check, and Tony, one of the girls said, just wait there, James, wait there. Yeah. Tony comes in and goes, geez, James, what the hell's going on? Probably a few other F words in there. And then, what the hell's going on? And I'm going, what do you mean, Tony? He goes, well, you got all these millions of dollars in the Master Builders Trust account, like everything all right, like you got all this, And I said, no, I just, I'm just using for this. And he goes, what? So you just putting it in, you're not invoicing for the money up front? No, I only invoice when I do the drawdown. All right, so he goes, oh, that's bloody brilliant. And I said, yeah. So then when I found, getting the trust, going through the whole process, and then getting to the end of the project, then I had my normal contract admin, communication, variations, all the documentation. And, mate, projects all of a sudden, projects were just running real smooth. To the point where I think I've actually got one of my old clients helping me with Witzer. So still staying friends with some of these clients even afterwards. Also, and ringing you up years later going, oh, can you, got any tips here? You still contract? I said, nah, don't do any, but yeah, I'll sort you out, mate. But it's about building that trust and relationship, which I think we've lost in all business. So I don't see Witzer just staying for the construction industry. You got say you're a designer, you could be an engineer, architect, anything. If you're doing work that has no other tangible value, even to a property, or even if the client doesn't want to proceed. So you could take a 50% deposit. You could do this town planning report or whatever, engineering report, design, and then halfway through, if something happens to that project and the client goes, oh, I'm not going to proceed, well, they're not going to pay the other 50%. And that happens all the time. So, but you've done the work. You can't sell that report to someone else. It's only for that project, for that client, for this, So, and you do hear of a lot of it. And I think a lot of people don't admit that it happens to them. I can talk about that later, where I've had builders that...
Mate, all I heard in that was chicken wings and beer.
At the paddock.
Yeah, the paddock. What day is that on?
Yeah, it's Friday. But from there, I just thought, this is doing really well for me. How do I get this to other builders, and so that we can make the industry better? And it was, obviously an app. And so it's not just about, the money, where I'm putting a complete contract admin system in it that's easy to use. It starts, and this is the problem I've always found with government getting their fingers in things, is they always just want to pin down one group. It's always builders. They pin down the builder. And you're like, well, hang on. The builder mainly only goes broke because a subby stuffed up. He has no power to hold that subby accountable for his workmanship. Then the client doesn't want to pay because of this failure and blames the builder, but the authorities don't give him any power to discipline or come in and discipline the subby. So what we end up, but the only way to control everything is the builder, from compliance. So that client doesn't pay the builder, and such small margins, and he's got 10 other jobs, mate, the whole house of cards fall. And people just go, oh, the builder went broke, but I paid him. Yeah, but someone else didn't. And the whole house of cards just fell. Or what we've seen with COVID, subbies have lifted their prices. I love it how subbies, they lift their prices and everything, and then they wonder why builders are going broke, and it's just like, you had a good run off that builder because, you gouged, and when you're in demand, and then they're the ones screaming, when they're the ones that caused it.
Just on the back of that, Robbo, so how does your company change the way tradespeople, owners, and obviously builders manage risk?
Yeah, so de-risking everything is what business is about. When you go into business, you got to identify your risk, and then work hard to minimise that as much as possible. It's always been a thing with, remember as a contracts administrator, as soon as you get given a job, find out where the stuff ups are. Where did the estimators stuff up? I remember some doozies, but what do you got to? It's like that with everything. So, with contracting, the risk is mainly like dealing with a client. The risk is getting paid. Yep. So if you're a contractor, you want to know that, hey, if I do this project and I do it right, I will get paid. So, plus also you want a great relationship. Yep. And you want an easy, and no one wants to have a fight. No. But fights happen usually because of just general harmless misunderstandings, right? So that's where we help de-risk the disputes. So number one, we de-risk the financials and the cash flow. Then we also de-risk the disputes by having that clear, transparent communication. And in setting up the systems and the structures so that, these tradies that are spending most of their time on the tools and don't have that, construction, that management background, we can help them with the structure of going through it. So, and then have a good, happy ending for everyone, because everyone wants a great result. So then for the clients in de-risking, they want to know that, hey, if I pay this guy, is he going to turn up, do the job? Is he going to finish it? Is it going to comply? Am I going to have a dispute? So very similar. It's both sides are very similar, and that's one of the things with marketing Witzer is they're both identical with slight little twists. Yep. So you can't actually, we can't market, to the contractors, all clients are bad, right? Because then the clients will see that and they go, oh, hang on, Witzer's, we've got to be, in the middle. And all we're doing is de-risking it for both parties. So, making sure for the clients, it makes sure that the contractor abides by the legislation, both with payments and also compliance with the paperwork.
So it's just holding everybody accountable. It's just providing a nice, clear set of rules that everybody understands up front.
Yep, it has the structure and the systems and the processes. And, some builders go, oh, well, I've got a project management software. Yeah, but your client doesn't. So Witzer is one of the first ones that is actually bringing your client into the system. So
it's transparency for both the client and the contractor.
Yeah. So one of the things that I remember one project, I was a bit younger, and I had a guy who obviously works long hours and different hours to me. But he thought 10:30 at night was a great time to have a chat about his project.
Sounds like someone else I know.
And I'm like, I don't know, being young and stupid and wanting to please. I think with my ADHD, you always wanted to please and make sure everything's right and everything's got to be right. But then I ended up really getting the shits with this guy. And again, this is where communication can break down. So I got the shits with him. He got the shits with me. But it was like, but I look back now, 15 years later, and go, well, that's when he's working on, like he's got his head around, he's working all day at his job, and he's got his head around his project at that time. Yep. But I just say to him, sorry, mate, I'm asleep because I've got to get up at 5 to work on your bloody house. So, so this is another great thing where Witzer helps, is that it has it all there, so the client in their time can review the documents and where they're at and what the stages are. It's there all set out for them, and all the communication and the transcripts and what's happened, where we're at, and you can get clients. I used to get one client, she'd ring me up every morning. She rang me every morning 12 months after we finished her job. And she actually said, James, I've probably got to stop calling you, but it just seems like I want to call you every morning on my way to work, because when she was on the way to work, that was her time to call me and talk about what's happening on her job. And she kept doing it 12 months after the project. So that was cool. But yeah, it slowly did dwindle off a bit. But you know, you end up, it's like, oh, there's AJ. Yeah, she's ringing me. Like, but yeah, so it's when people have their thing. So we've got to remember that as contractors, we're full time, but the clients aren't full time, which is completely different when you're dealing business to business. So, and I think that's what a lot of our younger guys struggle with, because they're all taught this work-life balance. Well, mate, if you want to be a contractor and do resi, there's no such thing as work. Well, I got work. I can discuss work-life balance, but where Witzer will help with that. So you can communicate when you can review it when at smoko or after work, whatever, and so can your client, and it's there, and it'll probably cut down on that, because it's a place where you can review, and instead of going and having a crack at someone. And I've had this before. I've had a client have an absolute fucking crack at me. We end up in a big barney. And I'm like, but once he's gone and reviewed his documents, he apologised to me. And I ended up going on to do another 2 projects for him. Yeah, nice. But
so in terms of when you work in the sort of production industry and, like, you know, obviously all the buildings, sites and everything you've managed versus the tech industry, where do you think it's all heading? And, like, just what have you gotten out of this experience of creating Witzer? Like, what have you learnt about the building industry? And I suppose for anyone who's listening to our podcast today, what could they take out about if they want to build an app, or what do you think it's done for the industry in terms of helping the client and the builders?
Well, I suppose it's that, taking the risk by putting the clear communication and transparency.
Yep.
It's just simplifying it, isn't it?
It does. Because it's, I suppose, all these mundane tasks that we used to do, like, you know, I remember back in the day standing at the big thing and, you know, having to put the triplicate things just to get one copy of a damn drawing.
Me too.
And then
Me too.
And then you went to the multi-fax, and I was so proud of myself how many fax numbers I could get in and shoot that off to get it really efficient, and then laying out all the drawings to do the packages for the, you know, and all that efficiency. Is like, mate, that we're so far past that, and and you know, I think the app, you know, thing is such a great technology. Like, it's tried and tested now, is it? You know, we've had it a good decade or so or whatever. So I think it's about time. Like, I still can't believe we haven't done it. And again, I think a lot of times when people, and it's like helicopters, I think a lot of people always think about one control at a time. They always think about, well, what's just for the tradie, and you're like, no, you got to think about what does the tradie need to do. And I think a lot of people don't put themselves in that tradie's position and go, what does he actually do? And a lot of people look and go, oh, I'm going to create an app for him because then he can do this, this, and this. And you're like, no. You got to sit in there and go, what does he need to do? He needs to communicate there. Spread out a bit. And that's where Witzer, like I said, it's one of the first ones to actually include the client in the process. So one of the parts of the process is we're also helping clients. So, you know, and I got this with doing quotes. You turn up to a quote and you know you're not the first one there because you can tell what they're saying. And then they'll come up with this great idea and you go, yeah, we can do that. And you know that they just came up with that. Do the other 2 guys that were quoting, do they know that? No. Yeah. And then they say, why is your quote more expensive? Oh, because I've actually included everything that you wanted. And so what we also need to do is give the consumer, I call them the consumer and the clients, we need to give them the technology to also help them deal with builders and trade contractors. So it's not just about technology for the builders, it's also for everyone dealing with it. So if we can qualify our customers, our clients, by helping them to put together their draft projects, and that's one of the features we got, draft projects. Yep. And you know what? I'm there, and I'll get on to another, but when you start a business, you go, oh, it's going to go that way. This is how I think it's going to play out. And pretty much, you know, Magnus, with our years of experience in construction, you can pretty much tell how it's going to play out. But when it's such new, like it's a new thing, but in an existing thing, you don't know how it's going to play out. And like when people say, "Hey, Robbo, how's Witzer going?" I go, yeah, good. Like, and they're like, well, it's going really good, but it hasn't really played out how I planned. But mate, I'm nimble as shit. I just like, if I see an opportunity and go, well, I was thinking of that later, but hey, there's the opportunity. Let's brew that now. And draft projects was something we're going to do later, but we ended up seeing a need for it now. And we brought that forward in our production, and it's going bunter. That's the strongest thing. Absolutely strongest thing. I'm getting goosebumps about it because it just goes to show that, you know, when you sit down, you drink a heap, you talk about crap, you revisit all your experiences of the years, and then you put into something, and you know, like we're a real believer. We did home shows, and I didn't do the home shows really for the consumers or like any public. I did the home shows so my staff can actually hear the pain and the trigger points for people. And it's amazing how much that has actually worked for my staff, because they can hear Robbo just with it, you know, banging on all day and go, like, you know, this is how, you know, but when they hear it from the people, they can get actually excited on, we're here to make a difference and we're going to help people because we need to educate the consumers, help them package up their scope of works, you know, and they even telling me, Robbo, you need to stop like your builder stuff. Like, let's try and dumb it down a bit. Well, not say dumb it down. Sorry, I didn't mean it. But let's take some of the technical terms out of it and make it a bit more relatable for people. But yeah, still having that structure there to guide them through. And then, mate, the AI thing's the next thing we're putting in that. That's going to be amazing because the girls are going, well, we've got our in-house designer. So that's another thing. I don't use consult. Everything's in-house. But the AI that's going to help people put together their project so that they can take that project, give it to a subby or contractor, and then that contractor can go, wow, I don't have to spend a heap of time trying to understand what the hell they want because we've helped them through that process. So we're helping qualify them. We're also helping qualify because we have budgets and stuff and we've got all these other features. But then we're going to save the contractors a heap of time because quoting is a pain in the butt. And if you're not good at it and you haven't got that background, which, you know, a lot of the smaller guys coming from a trade base don't have, they can get a good vision of what they're pricing and making sure they tick it all off and they've got that scope of works there. So we've got a scope of works for them. And then they also know then it's apples for apples. So then they're going to get more guys wanting to quote. Then they're going to get more accurate quotes. Because you always know the trader, you go, oh, I don't make sense. Oh, what's this? Oh, chuck 10 grand on it. You know, oh, I just chuck a bit more on it. And then people say, why do I get such a big thing? I get a price for 50 grand and a price for 100 grand. It's not the contractors, it's you. Your scope of works is all over the shop. Have you explained it right?
They don't have one, most of them, because they
don't
really
have
know
one.
what they want.
Yeah, the scope of works is, oh, I want this and I want that. And but, yeah, so if we can help that, then the clients are going to get better pricing, right? And then you're going to get apples for apples. And I just think just a good thing all round.
Sounds like a great concept. You've spoken about, because obviously you're taking away some of the struggles from the homeowner and taking away some of the struggles from the contractor just to streamline the process. What about you? What was it like? What were some of the struggles or your biggest struggle that you went through when you were trying to develop this in this new industry?
I felt like a client with no building experience trying to get something built, I think. And I was at a it's called a developer workshop, PC lunch, and one of the guys from a big development firm, he actually said, we're at the bar, and he said, yeah, Robbie, I think sometimes we take it for granted that we're all in the industry, we all know what we're talking about, we all just expect everyone understands. But he said, it's amazing how many mates that aren't from the industry just don't have a clue. And I go, oh yeah, I suppose. So and I even relate it to one time this client said to me when I was looking at her project, and she said she got all flustered and just said, "Oh, look, I just don't know. I don't know what to do or how to do it." And I go, "That's all right. That's my job. My job is here to help you, get what you need and what you want and what's most important, and then it's my job to then deliver that." And I think that is a big thing a lot of people miss. And I know, I remember as a kid, my mum actually saying to the old man when he's whinging about clients, and she said, "Yeah, well, if they knew, they wouldn't bloody need you." So it's one thing to remember with your clients, and that always irks me when I'm on the other receiving end. So I suppose going through that whole thing was a little bit hard. It was a very learning process. I did the usual thing, went through a few software guys, had multiple experience. Like one of them just wanted to get the download, then go do the whole thing. And I kept saying, "Hey, mate, we're due for a catch up. We're due for a catch up." "Oh, no. And then he goes, "Oh, I'm nearly finished." I'm like, "Mate, you can't be finished. You don't even know." And he goes, "No, I'm done." So I remember sitting it was during COVID, so I remember sitting in a Teams meeting with him, and and he just started doing this, and I go, "Your calculations are all wrong. That doesn't work. That doesn't add up to that." And that was just ended up turning into a big argument, and he said, "Yeah, well, this is a problem. I don't understand this. You're the construction expert and blah blah blah." And I said, "Yeah, I know. So you should have included me, like I kept asking you, in the development of it, because you don't know." So,
Well played.
So then when I went to another guy, and again, he wanted the high end. So it was like, "Oh, it's going to cost you $500,000 just for this," and I'm just like, "Nah, mate, I've done my bit of research, like any homeowner, you do a little bit of Googling, you suss out a few things." So we went down that bit of the pre-design bit, and I paid for that, and then I ended up pulling the pin. And then, so I paid for the design bit, so I had that. Then I went to another guy, and there's a lot of, like anyone with building projects, you go for recommendations, like, and you talk to guys and you go, "What, know anyone here?" And so I went to another guy, and he was talking, "Right, this much for this, and these are stages." I'm like, "Right, done. Sounds good to me." We had lots of meetings. Then the meetings started to get stagnant. We paid him money. Then all of a sudden, I think he actually had issues, personal issues. And that's another big thing that a great book is called Laws of Human Nature. And that I think that helped me get my master's in building psychology, because that actually really helped with dealing with contractors and guys on site, which is tough. No one teaches you that at uni.
Do you remember who the author was?
Robert Greene, Laws of Human Nature. My GM, that was the first book I said, "You read that." And then the other one was on the disc theory. Because I'll tell you that Laws of Human Nature was a massive turning point for me. Massive turning point. So what was the question we were going?
I was going to ask you a new question. I know we probably would have spoke about it, but how important is advertising and marketing when you're obviously introducing a new product, or with those competitors, is something that you don't want to show them what you're doing that's totally different to the market?
I'll talk about some of my competitors.
Yep.
So I always believe in doing, obviously, research, what your competitors are like. But I don't base what I do on what they're doing. Because if I run my race compared to them, then I don't think we're going to go anywhere. One thing I sort of learned is there's, okay, I'll give you an example. Is my wife was baking this recipe, and she said it's just not working. Like the recipe's not working. And then she's getting frustrated, and I said, Claire, that's just a person who's written something. It doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean she's got it right. Doesn't mean, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and I actually, looked at the recipe, and I go, well, I reckon that's where you're going, right, like, with how the eggs went. And it's like, it's true. It's like, just because it's written doesn't mean it's true. So just because someone else has launched a product doesn't mean it's good. Okay. And Richard Branson brought out a good one, which goes, competition is good because, number one, it means that there's other people out there thinking there's a necessity for something, right? So there's a need. And the other thing is when people go first, because I came up with this idea 20 years ago, and it's taken me getting to this. And I've had a false start too before, where I actually had investors try and rip me off. Yep. So I can talk about that one. So when I got to, and the other thing is, when I got to launching the Witzer system, I actually say to my staff, I already did the Witzer system. I already proved the Witzer system 15 years ago with the Master Builders Trust account. So when I talk to my staff about the psychology and all this stuff, I know it works. It's not like I just came up with the idea on the weekend. Yep. So I actually tried and tested it first with paper. And then so yeah, not too worried about competitors. Some of my competitors, I can get a little bit bitchy, is that they've got no construction experience. Yep. Again, so you can go do a fintech and you can think, how great is this? But if you don't know how your industry works, again, so like that software guy, he thought he knew everything because he thought he could write the code, but turned out he knew shit. And then there's these other guys, they've gone and actually delivered something, and I look at it and I go, I'm not scared of that because that doesn't work. Why is that? Because I've done hundreds and hundreds of projects, and I know that not every project works exactly like that, and it doesn't have the flexibility to work on all the different combinations that you could have in processes. Yep. And that's another thing I've really drummed into. Like lazy tradie, where the tradie will spend more time convincing you to do it another way, only because he doesn't have the skills to do it the way it needs to be. Yep. And he doesn't want to spend the time doing that. He doesn't want to spend the time doing that. So he'll actually spend more time arguing with you when he could have just done it. Yep. And also the other thing is that they don't realise that they're only a cog in the project, and they'll do it a different way to what you asked and what you agreed with. And then when you come down, you tell them to pull it down, you go, well, why not? Because, mate, you got the electrician, you got data, you all these other guys coming in.
They need to play team sport.
Team sport. That's a big thing for employees. Always make sure your employees play a team sport or like team sport.
What about blokes doing your own yard? Like blokes, when you get a brand new house, you encourage men to actually mow their yard and all that type of stuff as well?
I mow my own lawn. Yeah. My neighbour, I'm worth a shit ton more than him, but he gets all these expensive contractors to come in and mow his lawn. It's like, I remember a guy asked me to do a JV, and I said, mate, no, I don't do JVs. And he said, why is that? I said, because I have a board meeting while I'm having a beer and mowing the lawn, and I've got a resolution at the end, and that's it. So I don't play well with others because of that. But so marketing. So on the marketing point, I suppose marketing is always important, and it's actually the biggest thing. And I had a Super Bowl. I went down. I actually worked the Super Bowl day, but I went down to see a few mates after, and they were absolutely, they were gone.
Bit of a one-horse race.
Oh, mate, you don't turn up to a Super Bowl drinking thing at 3 o'clock in the arvo.
You're way behind.
It's wasted.
You're way behind.
Yeah, so there was no point catching up. So I'll get the brownie points off them, and I gave them a lift home. But when I was down there talking to one mate that I went to school with, and he's talking about, Witzer in the marketing is what we've done. And he's doing a similar, not a similar thing, but he's putting thing that they do for work in the construction industry into an app. That's all like systems and process driven. It's more for servicing, like maintenance. So, but he just said, Robbo, you done it the right way around. You done the marketing first and this and that, and we've gone all this tech and, but then now we've gone to launch it, but we've got no money left for marketing. So our product is not finished. So we're launching our product in a whole heap of stages. But what we're doing is we're spending the money on the marketing. We've got a base thing that people can start with. And as people come in, we'll keep developing and launching new features. So my software guys are still full-time. They haven't stopped.
Yep.
So as soon as we launched, we were then on to writing the next one, which was our version 2. So we've just launched version 2. Then before that we launched the draft projects. then we're working on Witzer Pro.
Yep.
And then we're going to follow and connect all these processes. So draft projects, people coming in, they want to find a contractor. So they can find a contractor. But what we want to do is we want to link them up with a Witzer Pro, so Witzer Verified Pro member. Because, and this is what we also we've picked up in our feedback, is how do I find, and I'll put it into my marketing words, how do I find a contractor that prescribes to the same morals and values that Witzer promotes? So you want to do business with people that have the same morals and standards. And that's pretty hard because we all love, hearing the sweet lies, but the bitter truth is painful. So, and I know that I've lost jobs for that.
Yep.
I've lost jobs because I've told them nicely. You tell them the truth nicely.
Yep.
And it's great driving past 12 months later and seeing the project just an absolute basket case and not even done. And so, and it's even great when the client rings you up and says, "Oh, can you come and fix it up and finish it?"
So
So marketing is important, but you doing it, and I even say to them, like, "Sorry, mate, we launch a product, but one great thing about our product is there's so much more scope to it. We're not just about escrow and securing the payments. We're going so much more. So we can launch, but also the other thing is our app's not an app you can use in 5 minutes.
Yep.
So we actually launch stuff without some other features, but we kept developing those features because we know that even if someone signs up there, they won't need that retention feature for months down the track. So that's how, again, coming back to contracting. And guys, where do we start with? The priority list is the priority list on how the client is going to walk through this. So if it's going to take 2 months for the client to get to the back to the pool, we'll leave the pool to the end and we'll put that in 2 months later. But so that's how I sort of gone, well, let's launch this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So in terms of your whole career, what would you say? Like, obviously you're a wealth of knowledge and it's been awesome to listen to you today so far. What would you say has been the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? Would it be something you want to pass on?
I think one of the things I know from my generation, it was drummed into us, work smarter, not harder. That's the biggest load of shit. That's what I think I found. You have to work hard to be successful, and if you try to work smarter, then you're just going to get outsmarted. People try to contract out so many other things.
Also, I agree. Yeah.
If you do try and contract all that out, those contractors need to make money too, right? And then they have other clients. You completely lose control of your project. So number one, you completely lose control of your project. I've had one where I subbed out some civil and got absolutely reamed with liquidated damages. and and I lost 600 grand. So, but then when it came to adjudication, the adjudicator goes, "Oh yeah, I know you got a contract, but the contractor's lost as well, and blah blah blah, and so we find in favour of me. He found in favour of me, but the damages awarded was everyone walk away, and you're like, we're talking 600 grand. We had a contract. What's the point in having a damn contract if you can't enforce it?
There's no accountability.
No. And this is where we're going, I'm going to say it, we're going woke. Because I was seen as the big bad client with all the money, and they're the poor little contractor. And that's the problem with this world. And Plus also, the guy was an interior designer who was awarded a $5 million civil contract adjudication. How the hell? Interior designer? But he had an adjudicator certificate. Like, anyway. So, going back to that, I think working smarter, not harder is crap. You got to work.
It's a myth, yeah.
It's a myth.
Okay.
And if you want to believe that, then you're a sucker that will believe the sweet lies. And the other thing is, I love dogs, but be careful of Jack Russells.
I've got one.
Sorry, mate.
Tell me why.
Jack Russells. They love all the bark. They've got the big bark of the big dog, and they love yapping around, and they love chasing things. But, mate, if he ever catches a car, what the fuck's he going to do with it? And I see so many people in business that I think are Jack Russells. They just go around, yap, 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 and they regurgitate stuff. I stay away from Queen Street. I call it Queen Street, but it's actually Eagle Street. Stay away from Eagle Street because there's so many wannabe guys that call themselves developers, but they're not. They're just people taking someone else's money, making a clip. But what I learnt from a bit of time in there is there's a lot of Jack Russells. And the other thing is no one's going to make you rich. Like, no one's going to make you rich and successful. Yep. So, I've come from building, when I went out on my own, I've gone from building $115 million cold storage to working on RBH to some towers along Corrie Drive to N72 at Griffith Uni, Redland Bay Hospital. I was the junior PM there. So quite some good projects. But the problem is, and quite young, like, 21, I was, pretty much a senior administrator. But then when you go on your own, no one's going to give you a $50 million hospital wing to build when you're 27. So how do you, and that's where I was hanging out with Jack Russells. They were all yapping. But I quickly noticed that all we're doing is chasing their tail and chasing cars. And the cars are too big. So I figured it out. And I'm glad I figured it out when I did.
So what sort of dog should we be?
Mate,
I was in Malinois.
Pit bulls.
Mate, I'm a Kelpie. I'm a Kelpie and a red
farm dog.
Red dog. And I'll tell you why. Mate, we only have a red dog so we can give someone shit, but that's about it. So,
I've got my red dog.
yeah. Everyone has a red dog. Yeah. So I realised that no one's going to give you a big job to start with, so you've got to start somewhere. So with frustration, I suppose, and ambition, and being the youngest in an entrepreneurial family, I decided, stuff it, I'll just start. I renovated my house, and then people started asking, "Oh, can you do some stuff for me?" And then they had the water tank, or like the big, where everyone's getting a water tank. Yeah. So I ended up getting like some weekend work putting water tanks in, and then that grew, and I got a mate I went to school with. He was plumber. I got him his plumbing apprenticeship, and then and then we started doing jobs on the weekend. And it was great just before the GFC. Excuse me. It was great because I started pricing work because Fozzie wasn't good at dollars. But then we'd say to people, like when they go ahead with it, oh look, we're booked out for a few months, but I'll have a talk to my partner and say, and we might just squeeze in some weekend work here and there, and we'll get it done over a couple of weekends or something for you. Oh, that's great, like because you just couldn't get anyone to start. Yeah. So that's how we did it, and because we're working our normal Monday to Friday job, and then I'd organise everything. So it was literally excavator turn up, Fozzie would turn up, the Reese order would turn up, everything would turn up just like clockwork. And Fozzie hated it because he's there, oh, Robbo, we're doing great. I'm like, yeah, we'll just keep fucking going, mate. We're not beers yet. Like, let's just get it done. So that's where I started. I started doing tank slaps.
Nice.
For a couple $100, and then that worked up pretty much very quickly. And then I got a $25,000 little built-in thing for over at Dutton Park, and then that was the job. I went, yep, stuff it. I'm leaving the Doyle Group. I was a construction manager at the Doyle Group. So
that's the lesson. So you've just got to start. You've
start
got to start
small. No one's going to make you rest
and work hard.
Yeah, and the funny is, when I started doing that, I went to a party with guys from uni, construction management. I love this one. My wife and I go turn up, and I was probably the oldest because I did my TAFE first, and then went and did construction management. But then, so I was always a few years older. And you go in and there's young pups. Oh, who are you? Oh, yeah, I'm working for Bovis Lend-Lease and blah blah blah. Getting my 45k and this and that, and I'd got over that, and I was, I was 24, early 2000. I was earning 120 grand. It was good. I was on good money as a contracts administrator because I took it serious, and so I ended up getting really good money. So, and then you just turn around and I go, oh yeah. When they go, what are you doing now? Oh, just building decks and doing stuff. And I was like, oh, what did you do with that? I was like, oh well, I'm working for myself, and I reckon I'm going to make 200 grand this year. And he just said, and just drop it. I was like, mate, who gives a shit? Yeah, whoopee shit. In 20 years, you'll be construction manager if you haven't if your wife hasn't left you and you haven't had a mental breakdown. So that's when it really, I went, yeah, stuff it. I don't want to be a project manager or, I don't want to work for those big corporates. So I'm going to go do my own thing. And I think also, another thing before that, I remember actually with one of the big block laying companies, we had a Christmas party. And one thing about me is if Robbo doesn't do pissy talk, if I do pissy talk, I'm ringing up the next day and go, are we doing that? Like, let's do it. And I remember at the thing, I'm going, yep, stuff, I've had enough. I'm going out of my own, just out of like frustration in the industry. So, yeah, I think that's the easiest thing. You got to start small. No one's going to make you successful.
And work hard.
You got to work hard at working smart. I always say to my guys, get the job done. Let's get in. Don't stuff around. Get the job done. But then everyone goes, oh, but you got to, do it right and take your time. Like, no, think about what you're doing. So stop and think what you're doing, then get into it.
Yep.
Because we're here to, as one mentor who said to me, and I taught him to fly. Don't really name names, but and I ended up teaching him to fly. He said, everyone goes, oh, we've got to get the job done right. He's like, no, that's not it. We've got to get the job done right. And that's where he reckons it got construed.
Yep. Speaking about flying, so what are some of the similarities you think that you can take from, obviously flying a helicopter, there's a lot of things that you need to be doing all simultaneously.
Yep.
How do you transfer that skill into the construction property industry and even into fintech?
Well, I suppose from the construction industry, I learned to juggle balls, and I've got 100 plates spinning. I think that's one thing I learned. And that's one thing I was saying to my kids is like, yeah, I do have ADHD. We do joke about it, but I think that's my superpower. So I do have a million things going on at once.
I know a lot of successful guys that suffer from exactly the same thing. So I think it's good.
Yeah. So my daughter's got it, and so I've been telling her like, you use it to your advantage. Don't think it's like some sort of
exactly.
We've taken our boy out of grammar because he at 13 because I think he's just he's getting wasted there. So he's smart as and he's hard worker and clued on. So I think you need to. Some people just can't. What's it? There's like I saw the guy with the doing the brain, the difference between a female brain and a bloke's brain. We've got all the boxes. We can pull out a box. And I suppose one of my skills that freaks some people out, I can have a full-on screaming match, Barney, even sometimes a fisty, with the plumber. And then I can turn around and go to the Sparky, hey, mate, how you going? And I think it freaks them out because one skill is don't ever take your frustration and anger that you got for one subby out on the rest of the subbies. That's when you'll lose control. And I suppose, you got to
compartmentalise.
Yeah, you compound. Yeah, whatever that is. I've also got I hate reading. So my wife does all the reading. But yeah, so I think you got to be able to juggle balls, and you got to be able to handle that pressure of juggling balls, and not get worked up. And it's hard. Like I get worked up, but you just got to stay focused on everything you got to do. So I suppose into flying's exactly the same. You've got a cyclic collective, your throttle, your pedals. You got instruments. You got other people trying to kill you, other pilots. You've got traffic control. You've got all these other things.
Navigation.
Yep. And then you got your mates ringing you going, oh, Robbo, you just flew over the house. Can you come back to do another flyby? So, and you got all that. So there's that. And that's why I think I did so well at flying. Plus it's got the coordination. So a lot of guys fail flying because they don't have the coordination or they've got the coordination and they don't have the smarts. So you got to be half crazy, I think.
Yep. Not
full crazy, but just half crazy. and yeah, I think that's what you got to be like. I remember what people used to say. Oh, the weirdest fuckers in construction are contracts administrators. We're weird. So I think we're borderline. I don't know.
So
psychopaths, but yeah, into fintech. I didn't finish that one, but into fintech, fintech is exactly the same as construction. They're all subbies, and you got to keep them on the thing.
And keep them accountable, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I call my my software guys. They're subbies. You just got to keep on them.
Mate, with everything we've spoken about today, obviously it's been a huge insight into tech. You know, the building industry, everything. What would be some advice you'd give to someone out there who's looking to start a business? What would be some advice you'd give them on, you know, how to synthesize all this information? What would be just one tip to leave them with to help them out?
I was at the whole baby, what do you call them? The mothers group.
Baby shower?
But my mother's group.
Oh.
So there was a mother's group with my daughter. Anyway, one of the girls there, her partner split up after the baby was born. She comes to me and goes, James, I want some advice and I want to go out on my own. And I said to her, all right, what do you want to do? Well, she's in property management. I want to do my own property management and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So what do you want to do that? And she goes, oh, I just want flexibility and work-life balance. And I just went, nah, like straight to her, like, nah, fuck it, nah. And she's like, what? And I'm like, sorry, I don't mean to offend you, but when you've got a property inspection, I went straight to it. When you've got a property inspection that has to be done for your clients, and your kid you're going to want to go watch your kid cross country, or you want to go take holidays or something, who's going to do it? I think the biggest myth about business is work-life balance, and it's this other myth. The other myth about like back on that myth about work harder, work smarter, not harder. I should say work harder, but you got to work hard at working smart. And I think again the biggest myth we've got and the biggest problem is work-life balance. If I wasn't doing what I was doing, I'd probably be a farmer because I just have that working dog mentality is how. And I was actually at mates for dinner on Saturday, and we talk about business because I'm not being misogynistic as my wife calls me, but the girls talk about babies and stuff and like that, and boys talk about work. So I think that's how we relate. We help each other with talking about work and different issues and blah blah blah. And I think a lot of builders need more builders need to do it without the whole competition crap. Yep. But work-life balance is basically making your work work around your life and making your life work around your work, but not at the detriment to your business. Because I remember one time Brett's didn't deliver. Sorry, Brett's. They didn't deliver, which is why we don't use it anymore. But they didn't deliver, and my boys needed some stuff, some fixings. So I came home to Claire. I said, "Oh shit, I've got to go." Blah blah blah. And she goes, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll just feed in the kids, and then we'll go." And only little. So yeah, we bathed the kids and did all that, fed them. Then we all jumped in the ute and we went to Bunnings. And they're going, here I am in Oxley Bunnings or whatever, and at 7:30 at night, kids are in their little sleepy things and whatever. I'm getting some bolts and I'm looking at the price, going, oh shit, yeah. But Claire said to me, and she's always gone along with everything I said, but she always shows, why are we doing this? Why can't you, when we're driving there, why can't you get up in the morning, go to Brett's, get these fixings, and then go take them to the boys? I said, well, number one is our boys start at 6:30. They start. They're there at 6. I've got to go to Newstead. Brett's don't open until 6:30. Then I've got to faff around. Then I'm going to be stuck in traffic to get to the boys. You got 4 boys at $40 back then or whatever it was, sitting around. So that's going to cost us a good couple $100, and in efficiency, and I'm going to have my boys standing around. But and so that's money. But that's not. So when you think about that's, don't know my exact percentage of profit, but that's $200 odd I've got to pay in wages, or more, $300 or whatever for a couple of hours. I've got to pay in wages. But then I've lost profit on that work that they've done. So I said to Claire, by paying, a little bit over the odds going to Bunnings, what did that cost us? Our time. And the other thing is so when you're starting up a business, if you look at your time and go, I've got to do all this and I'm not getting paid for it, then again, don't start a business. Just work for someone. I had my mentioned Fozzie before. He whinged to me and goes, I've got to do all these accounts and all this on the weekend when, no one's paying me for that. It's like, no, mate, that's in your hourly rate as your business. So if you have that mentality of, I'm not going to go to Bunnings because no one's paying me for that, I'm not getting paid for that time. But if you look at it and go, well, I'm going to pay a few $100, plus I'm probably going to lose $300 in profit, there's $600, all because, and I made it a family thing, family outing to Bunnings. So that's work-life balance to me. And the other thing is we've got our property on 11 acres, we've got our shed, we've got our office. We're disciplined. So I think that's the other thing. I can work from home, get up and do stuff. And I actually work better from my home office because I can get up, and if the girls aren't there, because two of our girls in admin only work Monday. They work 5 days a week, but they have Tuesday and Thursday. They work from another office or home with their kids. So we give them that balance. But you only get it when you earn to trust as well. But there's plenty of times I've sat there and halfway through the day I'm still in my boxes. This morning I was up at 3:30. So this morning I got up at 3:30, drove 2 of our semis with one with our crane, met Uncle Arthur out the front with a contract pilot, and we drove a modular unit that we've got 4 of them for one of our projects. I then did that. Then I went, I've got the truck. The boys down at my other job, they need these concrete blocks. They're ready. Selena, my PA, she's brilliant. So I coordinate a lot with her. I then drove down to, picked up concrete blocks in the semi, while Arthur then took the crane back. My chibbies were on that site there. They started working on the other ones that Arthur and I dropped last week. Then I went and dropped those blocks off down there. Then I had a meeting while I was down there. I then went and had a meeting with the guys taking our tavern. So I had a 10 o'clock meeting there. I then had that 10 o'clock meeting. Then after that meeting, I checked with my boys that they're still all good after we'd unloaded the blocks. I then drove back to the yard, and then we unloaded the crane, loaded up the next donger, getting that ready. So that's been lifted. Then I went inside, did a few things on the computer, spoke to my wife, caught up with her. Then I had a shower. Then I drove here. In between time, I always save my phone calls for when I'm driving. Then after this, I'm now going to go back to the yard. I'm going to finish loading that donger with the crane, and then strap it down, and then have cooked dinner because my wife's out, so I'll cook dinner for the kids. And then because she goes to trivia every Tuesday with her girlfriends, and then I'll get up at 3:30 and do that all again. So it's not a job. Like, if you think work is a job, I love building. I love everything I do. I love flying choppers. And I've made it that it works because I've got my own hangar and my own registered airfield at my house. So this whole work-life balance is we've all got to work. We're not going to get anything for free. But then my 13-year-old's asking me about how can people get the dole? Like, so I've got to explain that one to him. God, that's a great question, son. That's a great question. Let's get, and then Dad gets on his rants. So that's work-life balance, and that's why you should get into doing your own business. But if you just want to go to work, do your thing, go home, and do nothing for the other whatever hours you do, then just stay an employee. But I sit there and I'll have when I first started, I'd do 10 hours on the tools. I'd go home. I then do a couple of hours paperwork, come through, have dinner, play with the kids for like half an hour. Kids would go to bed. Then I'll go back and I'll do another couple of hours. And then I'll get up. Then I'll go to bed and go do it all again. And I only had to do that for 18 months, 2 years. I just did a sprint. But that then got me to a point where I'm employing other boys. Yep. Then I went off and I flew choppers for 2 days a week. But what I did was my reward, and that's the other thing, reward yourself, is I'm going to buy this when I get this contract, I'm going to buy that, and reinvest into your business. That's the other thing. That's the difference between my other siblings, is I've always reinvested into my business. I bought a laptop and I went flying. I was a fill-in pilot for over a year, just doing Thursday and Fridays away for ABC Helicopters. And then I'd take my laptop and I'd do work in between, price jobs and do stuff. So that's work-life balance.
Yeah. All right, quick fire questions. Let's rip in. You ready? What's one piece of construction wisdom that also applies to any business?
In construction?
Yep.
I'd say programming and planning your jobs.
What's a must-have tool, physical or digital, that you can't live without?
I'd probably say email.
And if you could build in one particular geographical location for the rest of your life, where would that be?
One geographical location. Is that from a financial or an
construction,
aspiration?
from a building perspective? If you could build in one place, where would you build?
I'd have to say like Southeast Queensland. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah. I suppose it's one of the things that you know and trust. I'm always I always order the same sort of meal. You got to know what you know what you're in for.
What's the most common misconception about property developers?
That it's easy.
That's a great answer. What's freedom look like for you?
Not having to deal with bureaucracy.
What's one moment you've had in the cockpit that you'll never forget?
Well, actually having the same moment twice. Had a near collision in the same place a couple of years apart.
Wow.
Mid-air collision.
Same
And missed
place.
by meters. It was over Mulaney VOR, and it was basically the other pilot was not on the right channel, not listening. But the thing that saved me was I was on the right area of frequency. Yeah. And thanks Brisbane Radar for saving my life. Because there was one guy, you could tell in his voice, he actually obviously got swapped out, but yeah, if I wasn't on channel, like this guy was screaming, so near collision, very close. But yeah, if you follow the protocols and you follow what you're meant to do, then the systems are in place to save your ass.
Yeah. What's your dream helicopter?
Oh shit! This has been a late one. Well, being a robo, I have to fly robos. Seems to be a birth thing.
Yep.
But and I do love flying my robo. But if money was no, I reckon like an EC135 would be nice.
Very nice.
Because it's an all round, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yep. What's one piece of advice that you live by?
Shit, I've got so ready. We're not here to fuck spiders.
What's one industry that fascinates you?
Other than the industries I'm in?
Yep.
One industry that fascinates me, other than... I'd have to say, actually, it's going to be a weird one. Other than what I'm in, like economics and economics.
Yep. What's the best part of being an entrepreneur?
Well, now that I've got to that sort of fairly financial freedom, I'd have this. I do projects because I want to.
Not because you have to.
Not because I have to. But I also do, and I always believe that if you do the project right, and you'll always make money.
Yep. And looking back, what do you wish that you would have known when you were 18 years old?
I suppose knowing that no one's going to make you successful a bit earlier would have been good, which I'm driving into my kids. But also the fact that I knew nothing. I think kids are worse these days. But I I know when I got to 27, went out mine, I thought, I knew nothing in my 20s. Then I got to 35 and I went, geez, I knew nothing when I was 27. Then when I got to 40, geez, I knew nothing when I was 35. But yeah, I think it'd have to be that one that I'd say that no one's going to do it for you.
Yep.
No one's going to make you successful.
I heard a really good one from a guy, and that was 10 two-syllable words, and that is, if it is to be, it's up to me.
Yes.
So that's a great way to finish, mate. Thank you very much for all of your wonderful insights. Appreciate you taking the time coming in. And my hosts today. Thank you,
Robbo.
boys.
Awesome,
Cheers,
mate.
guys.
Thanks, mate. That was great.
Thanks. Well, that was...
Cheers, mate.